This is Charlie Parsons for the Stomping Ground, powered by Wow Hydrate and available on DAZN. I've missed this man on my screen. Frank Smith. I don't know when the last time we caught up was, and I feel like this is going to come in with a little, that's because you're doing this, and that. But I actually don't know when the last time was. It's good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you too, Charles. It has been a long time. You have been off gallivanting, living your new lifestyle of opulence. But I'm proud of you. Everyone I talk to about you says how good you are. So I just, I care about you, Parsons. I want you to keep your feet on the ground, but you're smashing it. So that's my nice thing.
Oh, Frank. That's nice. Thanks, mate.
No problem. Every now and then you deserve it. You know.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm sure it won't be quite the same when I speak to Eddie. I'm sure that'll be, he can do the reverse version of that. What's been occurring in your world since we last caught up?
When did we last catch up, Charles?
I don't know.
Every you in 24 hours, a lot's occurred in the boxing world.
Hmm.
So it's lots of changing, lots of chopping around, lots happening, lots going on, lots to look forward to, lots of problems, I'm sure. But it's been a busy month.
Bit of holiday
Um,
time in there.
yeah, I went away. I went to Spain for a week and then went to Italy as well for a few days. It was nice, mate. That's why I'm trying to look, that bronze, rather than we're getting into winter now. I'm looking out the window
Mate, how
and the
miserable was this?
miserable, miserable. No wonder you spend so much of time of your life in Dubai now, jumping on and off the plane.
So depressing. Let's go straight into it. We are a couple of weeks away now from Anthony Joshua versus Daniel Dubois. We've seen, I suppose let's go firstly with the Guy Ritchie produced trailer, which landed this morning. A play on Sweet Caroline. They're so good, aren't they?
Amazing. I mean, it's Guy Ritchie at the end of the day. You know, it doesn't get any better or bigger than that. They do these promos time after time, and you think, how do they top the last one? How do they top the last one? But they seem to do it every time. They've got an amazing team of very intelligent and creative people behind them. So yeah, it's amazing what they're doing. And it's just showing the sport to such a big audience. Those kind of things. Everyone's going to pick up on that. It's like a movie, literally like watching a movie. The production levels of it. So amazing job. Well done to Guy Ritchie. Sure, I'll be delighted to hear that. He did a solid job, didn't he?
I suppose before we go on to the actual fight itself and the dynamic, we saw bits from the build-up teased on that launch press conference where Eddie sort of told us about what happened, where Daniel said, "Well, if you want to go now, we can go." Now that's finally dropped the full face off, and I suppose also we've got the allocation has been upped, right? What's it?
Yeah, yeah. I think it's 96,000 tickets they've upped it to. So it'll be the record event there. It'll be unbelievable. And we'll have them in there. It's a massive fight. It's a massive all British fight. We haven't had a fight like this on UK soil. I was talking about it earlier in a long time. AJ, he sells out stadiums. Daniel Dubois has been on a great run. And it's a massive fight. I believe AJ goes in there and destroys Daniel Dubois, but it's going to be a huge occasion, a huge spectacle, probably the biggest undercard we've ever seen on a stadium show as well. So yeah, 96,000 packed out. I can't remember what your other question was, but it's going to be some night.
And then on the face off, it's hard to sort of we can't really bring too much out of what Daniel Dubois comes and says, right? Because we almost feel like it's a little bit orchestrated and a little bit robotic as such, because it's never really been him too much. But he seems to be firing out a little bit more than he used to, perhaps.
Yeah, I think maybe it's some pre-prepared lines that people have given him.
Yeah.
Because he is quite. You can't change your. You're not going to change your ways after. Sorry, someone's calling me. Am I still there?
You're still there, my
Yeah,
friend.
sorry. Yeah, you can't change your ways. He's calling me back again.
You'll get who is it? Can you bait them out?
No, no.
Okay.
It's very secret, very secret. You can't change your ways after all those years. And I don't believe anyway, naturally.
Hmm.
He's been so, like you say, quite robotic. He's done it unbelievable. in his career. I can't believe what he's done and where he's got to in his career in terms of with his persona. You know, he's not the biggest personality or character, and he's had a great run. He's got in a great position. You know, I think he's an amazing success story of like sort of what Frank Warren's done with him in the Queensberry stable. But I think the whole occasion is going to come on top for Daniel Dubois. I don't think he's ever experienced anything quite like this, whereas this is natural for Anthony Joshua.
As of right now, is Daniel Dubois a legitimate world champion to you?
Well, yeah, but he's, you know, I think, yeah.
I feel personally that I suppose.
No, but we've all been in these positions where
Yeah.
he thought Filip Hrgović, who had waited a long time for that world title. You know, Filip was due the world title shot. He beat Filip Hrgović. You know, is what it is. But it doesn't really come September 22nd. It's irrelevant anyway.
Well, I was going to say, do you not feel the title is more legitimised on the eve of the 21st?
If for people who don't believe it, then yes. Because if he beats Anthony Joshua, which again I don't believe he does, but if he beats Anthony Joshua, you know, he's gone in there against the top, however you look at it, in the rankings, the top 2-3 heavyweights in the world.
I'm going to ask you from a promotional standpoint. You talk about the job that the Warrens have done with Daniel Dubois, and it's interesting because what felt and what a lot of people worded as a lost cause at times, you look at the defeats that he took, quite, I suppose, that Joe Joyce defeat, back in sort of COVID times, and you almost think, well, how's he going to come back from that? Never had the rematch as such, and then you look at the Lorena fight. I mean, how he ended up coming out with that, with his hand raised, etc. It almost feels a little bit like blind faith that the Warrens had with him in such, because the fact that we're in this position now, and when I discuss it with other people and so, they're almost a little bit baffled as well. But it has paid off. Do you sit there and almost look at, and it doesn't really matter to you, but look at the trajectory of his career and almost think like, credit to you, but how are you in this position now a little bit?
Yeah, but at the same time, like, how old is he? He's 26 or 20?
26.
Yeah, he's 26 years old. He reminds me a bit of Hughie Fury in terms of the career part, in terms of the fights they've taken, you know, at such a young age. You know, when you look at Hughie Fury's fights and the fights he's been into, he's always gone into tough fights. Daniel Dubois has been put in tough fights, you know, he's built his way through the rankings. When I say about Daniel Dubois being in the position he's in, I don't think it's maybe I'm talking about his ability as much. I'm talking more about the personality and the individual. That's the bigger piece for me, you know, because he's made a lot of money and he's been in big fights, but
he's
he's
never
not
been a
got
big commercial draw as such.
exactly, and that's what I mean more about. There's a lot of fighters with ability who will get in big fights and make it, etc. But I'm just talking more about. I think it's an amazing job they've done with him in particular because he's made a lot of money and he's got those big fights. So I'm not questioning his ability. I think AJ is a step too far for him, is my honest opinion. But that doesn't mean, you know, he put in a great showing against Usyk, great fight against Filip Hrgović, showed so much heart in that, you know, to win that Jarrell Miller fight, the Kevin Lorena fight, as you say there. But I think AJ's in the form of his life and going to be too much for him and too experienced.
Bit of a rogue one, but is there any chance we see an early Oasis reunion on September the 21st?
I saw some comment. I don't know whether it was someone made up some comments saying that that was something they were looking at. I don't know, mate. I think one of them's enough at least, you know, and then it sort of warms up to the big return next year. I suppose if they came together now, would they make it through to next year?
This is what I'm thinking, because the scheduled dates are like sort of halfway through next year now, so that would be a 9-month premature reunion. A lot
Risky
can go
business.
wrong in that time. Yeah.
I mean, look, if they did pull it out of the bag, it would be unbelievable. But I don't know, mate. Wrong person to ask.
All right, Frank. Fair enough. And then I just suppose on the fight itself and the undercard, feels like British boxing needs this a bit at the minute, if I'm honest.
Yeah, look, it's a huge card. Like I say, we haven't had a card like this, a night like this in a while. You know, Fury, Anthony Joshua, they've all been fighting outside of the UK for a while. You know, back in sort of early part of last year, we haven't seen these stadium shows. it's a massive event. It's a massive spectacle. The undercard, as you say, I love the Josh Warrington and Anthony Kakachi fight. I think that's a brilliant fight on the card. I think Liam Smith against Josh Kelly's a tremendous fight as well. So much to look forward to on that card. But yeah, 100%, it's what we need. It's what British boxing needs.
AJ wins, and then regardless of the outcome of Fury Usyk in December, providing that AJ and Fury both want to stay fighters, you think next year we finally have some form of contingency plan to see Fury against AJ?
We've done so much talking, haven't we, about it? So there's so many fights where you talk about so much and they haven't happened, and I believe it happens. I believe it happens, yes. But no one's looking past the fight they got ahead of them. AJ on September 21st, December 21st is the rematch, between Oleksandr Usyk and Tyson Fury. A tremendous first fight, and I've said it on many occasions that they're all so good they can beat each other. So anything could happen on December 21st, but the focus has always been, both. There's two focuses, I suppose, undisputed, and that Tyson Fury fight is such a big fight, and I don't believe any of us want them to retire without that fight happening.
Billy Joe Saunders, are you still promotionally representing him?
We've had a relationship with Billy Joe Saunders for a long time. He's talked a few times, obviously, about looking at a comeback. I think it's going to be interesting to see what he decides to do, and weight as well, where he wants to come back. He's had a tremendous career and also made a lot of money, a lot of money. So it just depends what he thinks. I think it'll be coming up to 2.5 years out the ring now since that Canelo fight at the AT&T Stadium, where he was boxing brilliantly, and then obviously Canelo wore him down like he does and caught him. But I think let's see what happens with Billy Joe. There's lots of opportunities. He's a big name. He's one of those names that's been in the sport for a long time, got a big profile. But he's going to have to decide, obviously, if he still wants to do it.
We're hearing that there could be some provisional talks regarding a Eubank rematch. Are you able to sort of anything on your side that you can tell us regarding that?
I don't know. I spoke to Chris's manager the other day about the Conor Benn situation and that fight. I feel that's the favourite fight, and I feel that's the fight everyone wants. I think it comes back to the point I made about the weight as well. Chris is obviously fighting at 160. If Billy comes back, does he come back at 168? I think it would be honestly, I think more likely 175. So it's a big, it's a big gap between where Chris is now. So, I don't know. I'm not close enough to those guys and their business to be able to tell you.
I suppose you mentioned Conor Benn there. Are you able to give us any sort of update? We know that I suppose last September we saw him against Orozco, was it? And then the Pete Dobson fight in Vegas in February. And then I think the plan was to just have him out in the UK after that. But this forever going process goes on forevermore. Are you able to?
Yeah. I caught up with him and his team earlier. I think we're at a point now where end of October we'll be at the finish line. So, by the end of October, we'll have all the answers and know what we're doing and where we're going. So we've got a time frame, and that's the focus right now.
Is a backdated suspension still potentially, on the cards?
Look, it comes down to the hearing they'll have on, and the results will come out end of October, and we'll see where we fall. I'm not really going to go into details of what is going to come, because we'll find out what comes and what the situation is.
We've just seen, I suppose I'm more asking you this just from how funny it is that the boxing world works, but we've seen Adam Azim versus Ahara Davis announced, which is actually quite a good little fight. But we know that Harlem was in the ring with Adam a good couple of months back, and then Caller's come out and said, well, yeah, that was the plan for the fight. I don't think they ever signed it, and then Adam got an injury and it went all quiet. Do you know why that is? I know you don't represent Harlem, but it just seems. I mean, look, the Ahara Davis fight is actually quite good. What was the whole point of having them in the ring in the first place?
I think the reality is, at the time, it was desperation from, they obviously pulled out the the Dalton Smith fight. They needed to do something. They didn't have a deal agreed. As far I'm very, I don't obviously I don't represent Harlem Eubank. But I have a very close relationship with him, and will always help wherever I can. Within boxing. But yeah, I don't think they didn't have a deal agreed at the time. Harlem, and I said this in an interview the other day, Harlem would fight anyone. But the reality is, Harlem is not some opponent who you've just brought in who's had a load of losses and is just there to turn up for Adam Azim. Harlem Eubank's in a great position. He's got the Eubank name, which is huge within the sport of boxing. He's undefeated. He'll be highly ranked, and he'll be in a great position. So he doesn't have to sit and wait around while Adam Azim decides what he wants to do. Like you say, the O'Hara Davis fight is a good fight, but because of the way it's all been dealt with, the reactions you're going to get are you're just ducking Dalton Smith, which is the reality. But it's one of those things. But I think Harlem would fight anyone tomorrow. He's not ducking anything, but he's got to look out for what's best for his career. And what's best for his career is not sitting waiting around for Adam Azim for as soon as Adam Azim's ready to go, right, I'm good now, so come and have a fight. That's the truth of the situation. So I'm happy for Harlem as well. He signed a promotional contract. He's going to be a focal point for a promoter in Wasserman who are going to, build it. And he'll be the A side. So, on a personal level, not talking about the business of boxing, my position, I'm happy that he's got that opportunity. But, that for me is the reason around it. At the time, it was desperation really to cover up the Dalton Smith situation.
What did you make of Simon Jordan and Eddie Hearn? I'm sure you didn't dedicate the whole hour of your life to listen and catch up on it all, but I suppose there's a few things that we can take out of it. One of them where Simon said almost that promoters are glorified sports agents in the boxing industry now. I'm gonna I suppose I can only use recency bias, and I'm going to stick up for the whole team at Matchroom Boxing because I saw the amount of hard work that went on to make that Riyadh season LA card happen, from ground operations, from the team in sort of putting everything together, from ticketing to so much more. I suppose there's more than just meets the eye, I suppose, as opposed to just Eddie standing in front of a camera and saying X, Y, and Z, right?
Yeah, look, that's our business, what we do week in, week out. I think we're the best at what we do in terms of delivering boxing events, not just boxing events, but sporting events. We've obviously got the darts, the snooker, 9-ball pool, amongst others, 300-400 events a year. That's the core of our business, is delivering events. I think, when Simon talks about the fact of getting rid of promoters, or are promoters necessary, when you look at the sport as a whole, there's thousands of boxing events that take place throughout the year. And the Riyadh season events are brilliant and amazing, and they're huge nights, and they're great for the sport of boxing, and they're great for all levels of the sport because they build the sport as a whole. But you also at the same time need to build the fighters that are eventually going to get to that point, and I'm not saying they're not going to do more shows, but they're not going to overtake I couldn't even tell you how many boxing shows go on a year around the world. Probably tens of thousands. You might have to stat there, Parsons, because I know you're a proper statter. But that's really, for me, there's always going to be a requirement for that, and they can coexist. They don't. It's not necessarily one without the other. And as it's been shown throughout. This isn't about promoters. This isn't about individuals and saying, I want to work with just Eddie Hearn. I want to work with just Frank Warren. I want to work just with Ben Shalom and Boxer. It's all we've had all these shows, haven't we? And there's been probably 20 odd promoters involved now across the course of these events, and it's just about seeing great fights for the sport. So yeah, I don't agree with Simon's stance there. I don't agree with a lot Simon says. So it's not a change. I'll be honest, I didn't listen to the full hour. I just saw his face when he called me a T-boy. I thought it was quite funny.
You're still getting these T-boy jibes in big 2024.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind it, I like the fact.
I've got to give someone credit, and that is Oscar Bevis, because I'm pretty sure that's where all of this started, where you done an interview together in lockdown in a bubble show. And And I think it's just lived rent free in the YouTube comments ever since. I mean, I'm sure your T-boy story, but whenever you see like the two biscuits comments and stuff like that, I'm sure that originated from that. I could be wrong.
Mate, I'm up for anything. You can call me whatever you want. I've been called much worse than a T-boy.
Yeah, there's much.
And yeah, much, much worse, to be honest. Probably even today. So, T-boy, I'll accept it.
Were you
But not from the disc jockey.
the disc jockey? Were you lot aired by Oscar De La Hoya out in Los Angeles?
Ed,
Yeah, like ignored.
me,
Well, you lot, I suppose yourself, Edward, Sean,
in what sense?
trying to meet up because Eddie said that they tried to reach out and got sort of the cold shoulder.
Oh, I don't know. I don't really talk to Oscar myself too much. I've said it a few times. Like, I have a good relationship with Eric Gomez. I saw him at the show. This was the show a few weeks back, the Riyadh season event.
Nothing.
So
LA trip.
no. But I didn't actually reach out. I was only there for a short. I got there Wednesday evening or something. I was there for a short time, but I've got good relationships. I don't think anything's changed there, unless you know something I don't.
I don't. His Excellency spoke about wanting to do cheaper pay-per-views. That's good for the fans.
Yeah, look, for sure. I think if it can extend the audience that the events are going out to, it's great for the fans. And it's great for the sport. It also helps, and we spoke about this before, around the piracy element. If the prices are more attainable, more people are going to buy it. I do think everything's going to be dealt with now on its own individual merit, though, as well. And the broadcasters have their own, guidelines. They have to, work to set the pricing. So you can't have, we could never be involved with setting pricing of pay-per-views ourselves individually. That's down to the broadcasters. But I think everything's going to be dealt with on its own merit and everything around it. So, but for sure, it's great for the fans that, like I say, it's more attainable and a lower price point.
Getting a little bit of stick online for the loss of the purse bid for the Boots fight. I'm not even going to try and pronounce his, rumored opponent.
Karen.
Yeah, well,
Karen.
we've got the Karen part. I don't. Can you try the surname?
No, I'm not going to try it because it will be embarrassing. And I think I know how to say it, but I might be wrong because I've never asked him himself. So I'm not saying it.
Okay. Reaction to the purse bid loss. Is it a matter of vacating and moving up now?
I think, look, we got to see, we've got to wait for the details of the winning bid. We had set numbers to within the deal. We could only deliver so much. And it's a fight as well that people have seen before, so it has, in our eyes, a commercial value. So we'll see how the next few days go. They've obviously got a process to go through now under the IBF rules to deliver a contract. So we'll go from there.
What's the correspondence been like with Boots' team as a sort of since the purse bid? Are they how do they feel?
I think there was conversations obviously before the purse bid and after, and everyone's very much aligned and understands the position. We work together as a team effort and want to do what's best for Jeron's career. So that's something that dialogue's continuing, and I'm sure there'll be news soon.
Lastly, from me, UK schedule as a whole. I suppose I don't just mean this when I'm talking about yourselves and Matchroom, but I know that we always have, tend to be that January and August are the sort of quieter months in the boxing calendar. It's obviously been a little bit different since the involvement of His Excellency and everyone in Riyadh season in staging these mega events. August was quite busy, but in the UK front, other than sort of the two shows that you guys have got announced, and I know you've had sort of all sorts of unluck with injuries and stuff like that, but it feels a little static at the minute. Can we expect a sort of bigger last quarter of the year in the UK?
Yeah, look, I think, people can paint whatever narrative suits them around it. Like when you look at August 24th was supposed to be Jack Catterall against Regis Prograis. You got a guy there, Jack Catterall, coming off a tremendous win against Josh Taylor, fighting Regis Prograis, who's just headlined against Devin Haney on a pay-per-view in the US. Like, that's a massive fight. Unfortunately, that got delayed to October 26th. Out of our control. It doesn't suit us. But when I talk about like the narrative people can paint, they say about, the schedule's not strong, or like they've had time where they haven't had shows. But there's been reasons behind it. That would have been August 26. Then September 28th, you had Dalton Smith against John Fernandez with a stacked undercard as well. You know, Johnny Fisher on there as well, on that card as well, moved on to there. Rhiannon Dixon, Terry Harper, Peter McGrail. You know, a great undercard of especially young talent as well. Dalton Smith pulls out injured. You know, unfortunate. And it was a great main event as well. You know, John Fernandez, although not the biggest name, I think it would have been a great fight between the two of them. You know, he pulls out. Then we've got Johnny Fisher at the Copper Box. You know, but then you look, you're October 26th, the Jack Catterall Regis program. We got something big we're working on for November, which I think everyone knows, which is obviously Sonny Edwards against Galleria fight, which I'm very hopeful and close to making. That's a brilliant fight. You know, the two best coming together. And I think going to be a massive night. December 14th, we're working on a Monaco show, which will include UK talent as well. So yeah, I think I could say you can create any sort of narrative you want and look at it now and say, well, there's nothing in August,
Well,
September,
no,
you know.
I suppose it's where the cards are so stacked, right? Where these sort of Riyadh season cards are so stacked, we almost feel a little bit, and I get it because I speak to boxers, Joe Cordina as an example. I know that yourself's a matchroom for a long, long time. It was just about securing the biggest financial opportunity for him. Riyadh came up, Monaco came up. It's just it's. We wouldn't be lying when we said it's not as busy as it has been in previous years, right?
No, but I think when you look at, and like you say, with the amount of talent them fighting on Riyadh, like you look at that main event of, sorry, the undercard of October 12th, a load of those fights could headline their own independent UK shows. You look at September 21st, a load of those fights could headline their own main events. Do you know what I mean? So there, you got the stack cards there where there's a load of fighters on those shows. You know, and we're also trying to place out shows where they make sense as well, you know, and delivering for our fighters' obligations. So I think you can look at this August period and, you know, July, August and say it was maybe, but it's always been historically, as you said, a quieter period. It's tough to sell tickets, is the reality. You know, a lot of people are away. You know, but there's a big focus to deliver some big nights towards the end of this year, 100%.
All right, Francis, thanks for your time, bro. What do you think of these?
Yeah, no, not for me, but
They're not.
you do you.
They're not for like wearing. They're just like more running. I feel like I could run Mo Farah speeds in these.
Oh yeah, no, I reckon Mo will be delighted that you're suggesting if you chuck on a pair of glasses, you could run like Mo.
Yeah, it's all
I
up.
mean,
It's all inside the mind.
100%. Now you said it, you can do it.
Thank you.
If you go out and run 30 kilometers tonight, yeah, no,
No. As in, go on.
in under 2 hours 30 minutes,
Happening.
no,
Not what I was.
no.
Not what I was.
Okay, no problem then. Let's leave it.
What
It's
you
irrelevant. I was going to donate some money to charity, but you're not going to do it anyway. So
That's peak because I just physically couldn't run that right now. The state of my my body post marathon.
Well, after your comment about Mo Farah, right? Charlie Parsons.
Need to go. Au
Cheers,
revoir.
mate.
Thanks, mate.